Hi, everyone. So good to see you. How are you doing?
Let's see if we can. Is my microphone up?
I cannot
Can you
hear
hear
them very
us?
well. I can hear you. I cannot hear them very well, but can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you now. I think you just need to be a little bit louder.
That could be loud. That is me.
How is everyone doing today? Hi.
Rosa, we are so excited to meet you today. We have been studying your article today about seeing extremophiles. We haven't. What? We've been painting and drawing and having so much fun.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait to see.
We told the students we really wish we could just scoop them all up and take them to the Amazon, so we've been trying our best.
We will do it at some point. Anytime, I'm always down to go to the Amazon, and I'm sure they will absolutely love it.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we're going to turn time over to Rosa, and we're going to let the students, you're going to learn so much from her today. I'm so excited. I think we should just start out with thank you for being with us today. Yeah, we're just so honored you could take your time out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, actually, thank you guys for taking the time off your day to be here with me, and thank you, Sharee, for everything. I'm really excited for everything we're gonna be doing this semester, to hear out like what you guys have learned so far of the Amazon, and if of course you have any questions about what I do, and we will dive as deep and as profound as you guys want to go. I not only do science, actually I do a lot of art as well. I've heard that many of you have different drives and different interests. So I'll be super curious to get to know each and single one of you. What do you want to do? What do you like? And to be honest, just having discussions. I know I'm going to learn as much from you as hopefully you will learn from me as well. So this will be a fun journey. And what I had planned for today really was to introduce myself. I have some slides, photos, and videos. I think it's always the most fun way of introducing someone, just so you get to know me a little bit better. And then hopefully after that, I can get to know all of you guys a little bit better. And then we can move forward and see where creativity and curiosity leads us.
So, Rosa, before you get started, we have been keeping you a huge secret. Like, we haven't told the students at all that Mrs. Gaylor and I have been communicating with you since December. So they don't even know about this whole honor. So can I tell them for just 1 minute about what this experience is, and then we'll have you finish explaining. You should come stand. You want Rosa to do oh, where I'm standing otherwise. So, boys and girls, okay, boys and girls, National Geographic has this really fun program, and it's called Educator-Explorer Exchange. And teachers like myself that work with National Geographic can apply to be a part of the Explorer Exchange. And what they do is National Geographic, if they accept your application, National Geographic takes an explorer like Rosa here and a teacher like Mrs. Gaylor and I, and they let us work together for the whole rest of the school year. Not just today with Rosa, we get the whole rest of the school year with Rosa. So when we have questions and we want to learn more and dive deeper, we want to understand more about what we could do to represent Amazon with our art or anything else, we are going to learn how to be an explorer like Rosa is. And she is going to be teaching us about what explorers do. And so we should feel so honored. Let me tell you this. In the whole world, there are 15 explorers that National Geographic paired up with teachers this year. And out of the whole world, you guys are one of the 15 classes that get to work with a National Geographic Explorer.
Yay!
So we really have been keeping you a total secret. So if you know a little bit about the Boiling River, they know a little bit about Rosa, and they also know about I read your article today and started to dive into that. We're going to dive more deeply into it the rest of this week and maybe a little into next. So let's let Rosa introduce herself, and then if you have questions, we'll do that after. Okay? Go ahead, Rosa.
Sure. I will start, since you guys have read the article today, just out of curiosity, Can you guys tell me one word that you thought of or felt with the article? Yes, just yell it out.
Extremophiles. Yes. Flower.
Okay, hold on. Let me
Now, so let me use the microphone. I think you might be able to hear the students better. Okay, Oscar, what stood out to you? Extremophiles.
Awesome.
Okay, somebody else, something that stood out to you. You connected when you read the article. Boiling river.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody else? Geothermal.
Very fancy words. I like
a
it.
word or like something that they did on their expedition that you were like, oh, that's so cool. And that like her hair got wet because it's super cold here today. I mean, actually, it might be cold where Rosa is too, but we were all thinking it might be nice to be someplace where it was so warm that our hair got wet. Dixon. Yeah. Say it again. Mosquito.
Mosquito.
Or speechless.
I think there's one more.
I thought it was like kind of like in your stories, so like sometimes you're just like resting and like just like enjoying it, I guess. And I never really thought of the Amazon coming just like lay down, I guess. I thought like, well, I thought it was like scary and like a lot of like, And we were surprised that you could feel restful in the Amazon, that you could lay down on a rock.
Yeah, actually, right next, I will have some videos for you guys, but I'm glad you picked a little bit on those very little details that I think make the most out of an experience, especially going to such a unique place. We're going to be exploring not just the scientific aspect, but I think this connection to nature is something that we are all going to start appreciating more over time. So I'm happy that you guys are picking up on that. I think this really tells me a lot of that you are a very sensible class, and I'm just so excited to get to know you more. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I think, Sharee, you just need to give me permission, make me a co-host whenever you can.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I do this all the time.
Participants, restrictions, no.
If you just go in participants, and I believe next to my name, there should be a
little... And then make host. There you go.
Perfect. Awesome. Let me... do you guys see my screen right now that says exploring the micro Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name, I actually have a very long name. In South America, it is quite common to have both last names from the dad and the mom. I've deleted my middle names because otherwise it becomes too long, but I'm Rosa, originally from Peru, but I've been in the US for 10 years now. I've lived in different places, Tennessee, California, Florida, and right now I'm in Michigan. And just as a little bit of my background and the aspect of science, I am a National Geographic Explorer for close to 2 years now, which has been really a wild experience. I applied for a scientific research grant, and that's how I got into this amazing family and got to connect with you guys now. And I do that through, I'm doing a PhD right now at the University of Michigan in a topic called chemical biology, which is very broad, but I will explain more as to what that means later on. While I was living in Peru, I also got to found an NGO, which in Spanish it translates to Institute of Natural Medicine and Nutrition. I'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. And I do communicate very strongly the thought and the action of conservation and preservation of natural environments throughout my work. So here's just a picture of what a day in the field looks like for me. You guys already have read a little bit about the boiling river, and when you guys said, oh, I saw her wear her hair, you imagine the hair getting wet. It's literally because it's like, if you are imagine you're in a sauna, which is placed inside a toaster. That's how hot it gets. You get the vapor and the steam all over your face, your hair. And as you can see here, I'm wearing, very thick shoes because I want to be as protected as possible, but I also need to carry all my gear. We always carry a stick so that we can test the floor before we make the next step to make sure that we're doing it as safely as possible. And right in this picture, I was crossing the river, and I believe the small bridge that we had was not working that well. So we actually had to cross by stepping carefully on each of the rocks to get to that. So that's kind of the wild aspect of my work. But it's not like this every day, but from time to time, it does get quite crazy. And what we do in the field, it looks like literally looking for clues around what we think could mean something interesting for us to explore in the lab later on. And that means collecting something that we call lichens, which are here, which I'll explain to later on. We use different tools, whether it's knives or collection caps into little tubes. And then that exact same sample that we collect there, then we can take into the lab where we have our whole safety gear and continue to study it and take it farther from there. In the field as well, we did had a field microscope with us, and we were able to take a look in real time at the samples that we were collecting. And actually, this is one of the little creatures that we have identified from the river living in hot temperatures, which we will get to later as well. But you can see here it's quite happily still even outside the river. I think I have. We were carrying even smaller microscopes as well in order to take a look at what we were collecting while we were next to the river. So that was really useful. And as I said, we take those samples to the lab. I work with a team. It's not just me. I will introduce them later, but this is my professor here at the University of Michigan. And we use different tools in the laboratory, of course, to proceed with our work. As part of the NGO that I created when I was still living in Peru, we organized different events with the main purpose of communicating about important topics on medicine as well as nutrition, with a specific focus on natural medicine and natural products, which is what I study now, for a lot of communities that perhaps don't get this type of educational support very often. And I hope to continue more of this work later on whenever I go back to my country as well. But as I said, just as you guys, that's not the only thing I'm interested in. That's not the only thing that I'm passionate about. I've always been very close to the arts since I was a little girl, mostly through dancing. I've choreographed groups, I've performed in different countries, I've competed, I've taught in different countries as well. And I also like painting and writing. So this is just, I like to design my own costumes, and then actually my mom makes them, and that's what I used to use for performances whenever I was doing this more full-time. This is one of the classes I taught, and then we actually even got to do a little event in Disney as well, in Animal Kingdom, which was a lot of fun with one of the African music groups. This is just sharing me a little bit of what I like to do. I like to paint with watercolors. I like to do animals, especially tigers, frogs. I do have hobbies in general. We'll see if I share hobbies with any of you guys, but I love rock climbing. I like trying new foods, baking. There was actually a video, I think it didn't show, I'll go back to show it, about rock climbing in the Boiling River. I like trying new, visiting new places, reading, going to nature, anything that is animal related. If you show me a puppy video, I will be happy immediately. I do love learning different languages. Of course, in Peru, I grew up speaking Spanish, but my grandma also speaks what is called Quechua, which is the language of the Incas, which I can understand a few words of. But by learning English, I've been able to communicate, of course, and connecting the culture here. But I also grew up learning Italian, which really allowed me to dive into literature and other different topics from Europe. And I do love to hear about people's stories. I think that's one of my favorite aspects of the work I do as well, and what really connected me to Nagio, in addition to this desire to get to know the world better through science. In terms of personal journey, I mentioned I'm from Peru. For those who may not be familiar, where exactly in South America Peru is right next to Brazil. So just gonna zoom in here. Here's Peru. And the capital is located right here, number 4. But my family is actually from the Andean section, so where the big Andes mountains are, a little bit up north here, in a town that is called Ancash. The name of this place, it originates from the Incas language, which actually means blue or eagle. And it does have the highest peak of Peru and the second of South America, like the highest mountain basically in this area. Here's a picture from the little town from where my family grew up, and here's a picture of them, my grandma, who really made me fall in love with nature, because whenever they moved to the city, which is where I was born, the capital of Peru, Lima, my grandma was still really connected to her roots of treating any disease with nature or medicinal plants. Even up to now, whenever she wants to make a tea, she actually does not use tea bags, but she goes to her garden and just grabs some plants and puts it into hot water, and that's the tea that they still drink nowadays. But when living in the city, she made a little pharmacy garden in our backyard, and that's what I grew up with. Although I was in school and I had access to all of this more modern knowledge, I was always just very fascinated by this other traditional knowledge, which really led me to science, to try to understand it a little bit better from a different perspective. Here on the right is my mom. She was actually always very involved in the arts as well in her community, and even when she moved to the city. And like I said, before I was born, they already had moved to the capital. And that's a picture of me always climbing in trees. I just always been outside, always like playing, and always connected to nature, to dance also from the beginning. And my family was really eager to show us as much as they could from the country. So I got the opportunity to travel to the jungle since I was a little girl. As you can see here, this is the art that they put in the boats in the Amazon. It's very typical from the area. We always got to visit not just the communities, but the different type of jungles that we have over there, and just always been very connected to nature, which really has just been drawing me back in and out over the years, which is how I got to study now Amazonian extremophiles. And the Boiling River is really our first stop. I can talk to you guys later about what do we envision for the future, but the Boiling River, it's one of the most spectacular places on Earth. Not only is it one of the largest thermal rivers in the world, as you can see here, this picture was taken from an airplane. So there is so much steam coming from the river that it is basically floating through all of this dense vegetation and into the sky, which is just quite fascinating. This body of water that is constantly, for a very long time, emitting so much heat that it still boils to this date, and for quite a long distance, about 4 miles. And it's also very, very thick, not just a small stream. Not only is it so interesting from this scientific perspective, this ecology and geographic perspective, the fact that you have a river so hot where normally bigger forms of life like animals cannot really survive in these very hot temperatures, but it happens to be existing in one of the most biodiverse areas in the world, and they live in harmony with each other, the river with nature around it. But it's also a place of a lot of ancestral knowledge and this connection to the traditional beliefs and culture that the communities have been carrying for a long time. The name of the river in the native language of the area is actually Shanaintimpishka, which roughly translates as to boil with the heat of the sun, because the communities in the Andes and in the Amazon have always explained the world around them through connections with nature. For example, the Incas used to consider the sun a god because it provided all the resources that they needed by being able to help the plants grow, and then they ate the plants and etc. So there's always been this very strong connection. And for the communities living here, they've always seen the vapor of the river as if it has healing powers. And also the river, the water, is a source of life for them because they use it for cooking, for cleaning, for drinking, for showering. And we can talk about that afterwards and what that implies. But it's been a very intertwined relationship. So they hold a lot of respect for the river as well. And this work is highly collaborative. It's not just me. I just get to do the fun part and talk to you guys, but really it's a big team. Otherwise, not really great work can ever be done without a team. In the case of my work, I'm at the University of Michigan, so we have a team here. On the left is my professor, but then we also collaborate with a university in Lima, Peru. Right now they have another PhD student who is Felipe right here, who does fantastic job with this type of analysis. We have National Geographic, of course, and then we also have the NGO Boiling River Project with Andres, who is the very fantastic geologist and a dear friend that basically made the world known to the river known to the world. And this is just a very brief overview of what do I want to do with this work, with this project, Micro Amazon. And in just very simple words, one, we want to create a map of what type of microscopic life do we have in the boiling river. That was one of the questions that you guys wrote down on the board. Does anything live there? That's the question we're trying to answer, because the answer is yes, but then nobody has really looked into this before. And by being able to study this and document it, we're creating a record so that we can also advocate for the protection of endangered areas such as the boiling river. Since deforestation now is growing so rapid, that one of the latest studies that came just within the last few weeks say that if we do not do anything, by 2054, so that's 30 years from now, the entire rainforest, or most of it, is gonna be turned into a dry savanna. And that is just heartbreaking. And I think that's what holds power into the type of work that we do. And by doing this, we can discover potentially new species. We can discover new biotechnological tools. We can dive into that later as well. Life-saving medicines, antibiotics, anti-cancer drugs. And we can also learn about the evolution of life in the Amazon. And two, we don't want to just stop here, but we want to be able to share this information for scientists, whether they're younger like you or adult scientists, by creating a database where we are combining the scientific work we're doing, but also all the artistic perspective that we want to bring with virtual reality expeditions, so anybody can visit the Amazon, even if they're not physically able to get there. Especially right now, everything has been turned online, right? Sharing videos and photos that I'll be sharing throughout these next few weeks with you guys, and to serve as an educational tool. The river holds so many secrets, really, and we want to just dig as deep as we can and try to understand it and elevate it and make more people care, because I do really believe in the power that how can we really protect something if we don't care about it? And by education, by learning about it, that's how we get to care. So I have a short video to just show you, just a minute, a little compilation. Let me go ahead and play it. I apologize that the sound got caught, but we see all forms of life there. It's absolutely fantastic. That's when we're collecting one of the samples, tracking next to cliffs, collecting again, taking notes, which is super important, discovering new types of insects even. We're using different simple tools. This is the field microscope I was talking to you guys about. Then a bigger microscope that allows us to take videos and photos. And that's just people in the team. And the last video that I didn't show at the beginning, but I think you guys will enjoy it. Let me see. Nope. Oh, maybe it's here. Give me 1 second. So just as a fun thing to conclude with, I'm glad actually this is at the end of my little presentation. I do like rock climbing. Do any of you guys has ever rock climbed in a gym or outside? Okay, So you guys know what I mean when I say I love rock climbing, and if there's a possibility to do it, I will jump like a little monkey. So whenever we got to a certain point of the Boiling River, where they have what they call the Spider-Man wall, because there is a section that if you want to cross to the other side, you need to climb it, and you actually need to get like Spider-Man, because you need to hold from both sides of the rock in order to get to the other side. And because it is a little dangerous, you need to have some basic rock climbing skills to do it. Very few people have gotten to the other side, and they told me that no girl had gotten it to the other side in any of the expeditions with Andres yet. So of course I said, we have to change that. I have some experience rock climbing. I had people guiding me and helping me, of course, but so we could do it safely as much as it could be done. And also because of the fact that no many people had gotten to the other side, that tells me something about the collection that I could do there. We could dive into that deeper as well, but here's just a short compilation. Where I've crossed, I think, the Spider-Man wall, just being very careful and mindful. You cannot see in this video, but through the cracks of the rocks, there's actually hot water coming out, like hot that it hurts to touch. And there's little spiders that are also crawling on my fingers. And of course, I'm terrified, but I have to keep on going because the water below me, 80 Celsius, which is hot enough to burn me.
They want to know if the spiders were biting you, Rosa.
The spiders were trying to bite me. I was trying to flick them off. They probably did still got me, but I was so focused on not falling that I didn't really care. It was also very slippery, so as you can tell, I'm double checking every single step that I'm doing. And also hanging on my belt, I have my collection gear. So I have tubes, I have spatula, and everything I needed, but I couldn't carry it, so I had to put it with little hooks on the sides.
Were the spiders venomous?
And then finally to the other side, all to do this, collecting samples. And I don't know if you can see, there's some vapor actually is coming. So that the rock that I'm scratching this algae from, it's actually very, very hot. I couldn't stand close to it too long because otherwise the vapor was just making me dizzy. So I had to be patient and be careful. But that's just a little summary of what I like to do, what brought me here. We are going to dive as much as you guys want to dive into any of these topics. And I'm happy to answer any questions now.
Okay, we probably have time for 2 or 3. Yep. Okay. Can't give the microphone. Sorry, I'm.
Do you know why the river is boiling?
Yes. So there's studies that are still going on because what makes this river so unique is the fact that there are no volcanoes nearby. The nearest volcano is over 400 kilometers, so very, very, very far away, which means that the volcano is not powering the heat of the river. So then the question is yours. So what's making the river boil? And one of the theories is that the water of the river truly originates at the beginning of the Andes. So in one of the high mountains in the middle of the Andes in Peru, in the south, the water starts there as a cold stream, and then eventually continues flowing through the country. And through the cracks of the earth, the water reaches at very deep point close to the core of the earth, gets heated so strongly, and then comes up also so strongly and fierce that it goes and flows with this strength that we see then in the river that eventually emits all these hot vapor.
Is being by the river like having a hot shower minus the water?
Can you repeat that, please? Is the what? Sorry?
Is being by the river having a hot shower minus the water?
Pretty much, yes. That's a good way to describe it. I love it.
Okay, go ahead, Oscar.
So at one point in the river, it gets so deep and goes to the core of the earth, that the water gets heated to was it like 300 degrees Fahrenheit?
The question, sorry, is how deep it can get?
He's wondering if the water goes clear to the core of the river. I mean, of the earth, and that's how it's heated. How do you think it comes from that hot place up? Does it come in one funnel tube, or is it multiple places, or how does
That's a great question. The thought is that it's coming from multiple places, not just from what. So that's what we call injections of hot water. And Andres, who is the geologist that has been studying the river for a long time, through his work, he has identified different points of the river where you literally see the water coming on through the rocks. So that's the injection that keeps feeding that hot water in.
Have you ever traveled to some place like this?
No, I've done a lot of work in the Amazon rainforest, but this place is quite unique. There's really no other like it in the rest of the Amazon rainforest, and that's what drew me to it. But I have done work in other areas where it's more of what you expect of a tropical rainforest: trees, animals, monkeys, etc.
Well, Rosa, we need to go catch a bus, but we want to thank you so much for coming today and being with us and spending time with us. And we're going to keep sending connections and talking about what more we can do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I'll see you very soon.
Bye. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.